let's continue this conversation, an extremely important topic, and I'm joined now by Dr. Jennifer Bauwens. She's the director of the Center for Family Studies here at the Family Research Council. Prior to her work here at FRC, she worked as a clinician and a researcher addressing the effects of psychological trauma. So part of that, just for an example, she studied the effects of mass traumatic events like 9/11. So she's very much acquainted with the research behind traumatic issues such as this. So Jennifer, welcome back to Washington Watch. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's good to be with you, Jody.
All right, so look, we've been told these procedures are not happening on children below a certain age, but now these videos are coming forward, and we are learning that that simply is not the case, correct?
Yeah, and every time we see another video, it defies what has been told to the public about the science is settled and this isn't happening on young people. The surgeries are an exception. This is rare. And then we get videos like what we're seeing released from Veritas Project that show, once again, there is way more going on behind closed doors than what we've originally been told about these transgender procedures.
Way more. I think that is spot on. Way more going on behind the scenes than what we are led to believe, and including the pressure, the coaxing that's taking place for these children to participate in these treatments and surgeries and so forth, when they're supposed to be there to help. Here's a clip. This just illustrates what you're talking about. A clip from the Project Veritas expose of a woman who transitioned as a teen, only to transition later on. Catch this.
I had a very brief, like 15 to 30-minute appointment with her wherein she told me that I was a boy. So then I took that letter of recommendation to a pediatric endocrinologist, and that very same day I started testosterone, and then not even a whole year later, at 18, I had a radical double mastectomy.
That's just unbelievable. Is this stuff common, or are these exceptions to the rules? Are we seeing more and more of this type of thing?
When it comes to the transgender procedures, this is the norm. This is what we're hearing over and over again, is a fast track onto whether it be puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or surgical procedures. There's usually this line that says, you know, you are either going to transition or you're going to commit suicide. That's probably the number one thing we hear over and over again. And Jody, I mean, what's disturbing is we have a lot of history that shows us how to treat both people who are parts of research experiments, and we have the companion to that in practice would be the Hippocratic Oath. And, you know, number one tenet of the Nuremberg Code says that we need to give informed consent and that the practice should not be coercive. Well, what are we seeing with the transgender procedures? This is very coerced when you're telling a patient that you're either going to commit suicide or you're going to follow my treatment plan for your life. And you're saying this to perhaps, as we're learning now, an 8-year-old.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's just absolute cruelty. I mean, this has to border child abuse. I mean, many of us look at this whole thing as abusive, as mutilation of children. But the way of getting from point A to point B is itself so abusive, like you're saying there. You're going to commit suicide or you're going to have these procedures. I want to show one more clip. This is from a pediatric endocrinologist in Canada who seems to very much be aware we're going through this, but something's wrong with it. Look at this.
I already talked about it, but most of the kids are nowhere in any kind of a brain space to really talk about it in a serious way. That's always bothered me, but, you know, we still want the kids to be happier in the moment, right?
All right, so let's throw the science out. Let's throw the medical stuff out. Let's just say, oh, the kids are going to be happier. Where are we going, Jennifer? What is all this leading us to?
Can you imagine parenting that way? Well, I'm just going to give my child whatever they want because, you know, they'll be happy in the moment. So I'm not going to put any boundaries around their life to keep them safe. Gosh, what a mess. And I think the end result of this is we come to the scripture, and I believe it's Luke 17, where Jesus says, it's better for a millstone to be tied around your neck if you're going to hurt one of these little ones. And I think the reason for that, Jody, is that, these adult figures, it's not just our parents. We have adults and systems in our life that are there to be an authority in a child's life. And when those systems are harming children, then we don't know the full result of that. When you have a school system that's affirming a false identity, you have the medical profession, and then a parent who's maybe going along with this, that is extremely destructive to their concept of an authority figure, which ultimately is supposed to reflect back to who and what the nature of God is and who God is to them. And so you can imagine on so many levels, obviously the physical, but the spiritual and emotional ramifications of this ideology that we're seeing injected in our culture is going to have over the long term.
Absolutely. We've only got about 30 seconds left here. But we're watching this merging of political ideology, emotional ideology versus science. And in that, we're told the science is settled when it is anything but settled. I'm just so concerned with what's going on, Jennifer, and I want to thank you for your leadership in all of this. Real quickly, how do people need to pray as we go through this issue?
Yeah, I think we need to stand in hope because we have a great opportunity to be the ones that say, this is the way, walk in it. And as it gets darker, the light shines brighter. And so we have a real opportunity in front of us in this hour. So be strong and stand and be in hope.
Dr. Jennifer Bauwens, thank you so much for your leadership on this issue, and thank you for joining us this evening on Washington Watch.
It's good to be with you, Jody.